Hey, what's up guys, Anboni here, and in today's video I want to talk to you about the best gear possible for PvP. Now obviously, in case you didn't know actually, they changed the way PvP gear works, they changed the way gear works in general in PvP. Basically, gear will have almost no impact in PvP whatsoever, so once you queue into an arena or a battleground, your gear gets completely nullified, they call it normalized. So all of your trinkets don't work, all of your like weapon enchants, whatever, all of the enchants, nothing works. No set bonuses, nothing, okay? There's nothing like that. The only thing that stays the same and actually matters is your artifact weapon, which you can increase, you can get your traits and whatnot. So that stays. And the other thing that stays is your item level. Now the way templates work is, in case you don't know, I'm gonna briefly explain it. Let's take Shadow Priest for example, okay? So Blizzard is gonna say, okay, the template for Shadow Priest is, let's say 10% crit, 15% haste, etc. Okay, and every single Shadow Priest is gonna have the exact same template. So 10% crit, 15 haste, X stamina, Y versatility, mastery, etc. And that's gonna be different from, let's say, a warrior. Let's say, okay, warriors need 100% crit. I'm kidding. Let's say they're 30% crit and I don't know, 20% haste, stuff like that. And now how item level comes into play. Basically, for each 1 point of item level, you would get a 0.1% increase in all of those stats. So the only way to actually have gear matter is in rated PvP, so rated arena, actually it's skirmishes as well. So in skirmishes and battlegrounds, all that matters is item level. So you can legit have a warrior with the best in slot mythic gear for a mage, right? With a wizard hat and everything. And that warrior is gonna do like the max damage possible because he's gonna have super high item level, all right? But what we're trying to figure out today is what the best gear is for world PvP and duels, because in world PvP and duels, this normalization of gear does not happen. So in those instances, you keep your trinkets, you keep your item like bonuses, your enchants, your everything stays, okay? Nothing changes. That's why for some reason, right now when I duel an assassination rogue, a sub rogues completely destroy people in duels. However, in arena and BGs, they're not that strong. They're good, like they're good of a class, but they're not like destroying people, like one-shotting them. And that is because, in arena and BGs, they get normalized. And outside arena, for some reason, their stats are like completely insane. But anyway, let's get started with this video. And the first thing I'm gonna mention is the PVE set. Okay, another thing before we get started. PvP gear does exist. You get PvP gear from boxes, but you get random gear. The thing is, as I said before, gear in PvP does not matter. So it doesn't matter what you get, what stats it has for arena. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is the item level. So if you want to be good and competitive and like super OP in world PvP and duels, you will have to play PvE and high rated PvE. High rated, I mean like mythic rating and all that. So the first thing that I need to talk about is the tier set, because the tier set is absolutely brokenly overpowered. And by the way, guys, my next montage, the Anboni 2 or whatever, that's definitely gonna be more of a world PvP scenario, because let's be honest, Shadow Priests in PvP, I'm not gonna be able to 2v1 melees. Or 2v or 3v1 or whatever. I mean, I may do it, but then it's gonna be very obvious that those players were pretty bad, and I don't want that. So it's most likely gonna be a world PvP movie. So for that reason, I will have to PvE. So let's get started now, finally, with the tier set. Now the tier set says, if you have two sets, so for 2 sets, you get Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch generates 1 insanity each time they deal damage. And that is absolutely breaking, like game breaking for like insanely good. That means you can literally just put dots up and start kiting and you will generate insanity. So you will get into Void Form so much faster, it's absolutely insane. Now the 4 set bonus says, for 6 seconds after activating Void Form, the cooldown of Void Bolt is reduced by 100%. That means you will freaking spam that button. And that is crazy because you will kill people in the first 6 seconds with just Void Bolt. you will literally just kill people. You will go into void form, spam void bolt like 6 times or 5 times, and people will die. And that is great. So we definitely want to keep the 4-set bonus. Now keep that in mind. We're also going to talk about the legendaries. Oh god, I keep missing the button. The legendaries. Okay, it was actually this button. Right here. No, right here. No, right. Wait, what? Where are my legendaries, man? Loot. There we go. We're going to talk about legendaries briefly. Some of them are good, some of them are not that good. One of them is really good, and that's going to be the one I talk about. But let's start off like one by one, okay? So I have my little list here. So for Helm, first of all, the stat priority I believe for PvE and PvP is going to be haste first, and then mastery, and then either versatility or crit. I'm not sure. Probably versatility for PvP and maybe crit for PvE. So let's start off with them one by one, starting with the helmet, and I chose the celestially aligned hood from the Emerald Nightmare raid. Now keep in mind that all of these items are from the mythic difficulty, but you can get the same items pretty much from all the other difficulties except for Raid Finder. So you can find all of them in normal, in heroic, etc. except their item level is a bit lower, and obviously their stats are a bit lower. But again, like I feel like I have to say this non-stop. Always go for the pieces with the highest item level when you play arena. Now all of these are just for world PvP and duels. So moving on. Head from the Emerald Nightmare, you get the celestially aligned hood. Now for the neck, I'm gonna come back on the neck because I found something funny. But like max DPS, probably the best one is gonna be from the raid the Nighthold, and it's the Brooch of the Astral Scryer. I don't know, I don't come up with these names. Now for the shoulders, we get from the Nighthold, we get the set shoulders called the Purifier's Mantle. For the back, we actually have a set back for once, for like it's the first time we actually get set cloaks. So we're gonna go for that one. Yay, PogChamp. Now for the chest, we are not going to go for the set one because we're still gonna get 4 pieces of the set, obviously. But for the chest, I went ahead with the Robes of Fluctuating Energy because it has more haste than the set one. Now for the wrists, we go for the Ragged Fur Wrist Straps from the Emerald Nightmare. For the gloves, we obviously have to go for the set gloves, the Purifier's gloves. For the waist, we go for the Mannery Skull Buckled Chinch. These names, bro, whatever. For the legs, of course, we have to go for the set legs again, and with that, we have 4 pieces of the set, so we get the 6 seconds of free Void Bolt spam, which is gonna be awesome. I hope we get it. I hope I get it. Now for the boots, we go for the Cozy Dryad Hoof Socks from the Emerald Nightmare raid. And now for the rings, again from the Nightmare raid, we go for the Dreadful Cyclopean Signet. I'm sure I'm butchering these names, just give me a break, okay? And now for the second ring, we're actually gonna go for our legendary, finally, and we're gonna pick the ring legendary called Sifa's Secret, whatever. It has a ton of haste, it has a lot of mastery, and the the use effect is successfully applying a loss of effect on an enemy, grants you 70% increased movement speed and 15% haste for 10 seconds. That means, and it has a 30-second cooldown, so you can spam it if you're like a warlock. But that's fine because it's gonna line up perfectly with our fear. So whenever you fear someone, you will get a massive sprint and a massive haste increase for 10 seconds. And this is where I think it's fine to mention you the other thing I was gonna talk about, which is the neck. Now let's move on to trinkets, but keep in mind this ring, okay? Now when it comes to trinkets, it's a bit different. I think that for once PvP, not necessarily, but the raid trinkets are not the best for this situation, okay? I would go actually for the Vindictive Combatant's Badge of Dominance, which is a base intellect trinket, because all the other trinkets from raids either give you haste, crit, or just a secondary stat, whereas this one gives you straight out intellect, and intellect is most likely gonna still be our main stat, and you don't get intellect from anything else other than trinkets. So this is one of the trinket I would go for, and the other one is actually a trinket from a dungeon, and I feel like it's better than the trinkets you get from even mythic raids, even for PvE. and that is the Chrono Shard. And the Chrono Shard is a trinket you get from the Archway dungeon. Obviously this is the mythic version. It's a bit lower item level, but I think it makes up for it since it is base intellect. So it's a 1123 intellect, and I think that's more important than having like 1k haste. In my opinion, that's much better. And plus, the effect is really interesting. It says your spells and abilities have a chance to grant you 900 haste and 15% movement speed for 10 seconds, but if you combine it with a neck, and this is what I wanted to talk about, from another dungeon called Court of Stars, the neck is, where is it? This one, Strand of the Stars. Okay, so if you have this and the trinket, you actually get an increased effect from the trinket, making it a 30% haste increase. No, sorry, making it a 500 haste increase and a 30% movement speed increase. Now think about this. Now the neck and the trinket are really good, are probably better than the mythic ones. Now this is really interesting because think about this. Let's say you have the legendary ring, right, which you can actually control when it procs, and you also have this other thing. Now when this trinket procs, right, where is it? When this trinket right here procs, right, and it gives you the 15%, actually the 30% movement increase, and also the, what is it, like 1.5k haste, which is way more than the raid trinkets, by the way. So when this procs, you can go ahead and fear something, right, in PvP, in world PvP, you can fear something and you will have an additional 70% movement increase and an additional 15% haste on top of all the haste you get and all the movement increase you get. And you can even spec body and soul for another 40% movement speed. You're gonna be the Flash, you're gonna be like speeding, you know, between enemies. Finally some mobility for Shadow. It's so clunky, man. You have to like get a proc, get the fear, get the shield, but then you will sprint like a maniac. Unless you are slowed, of course. If you're slowed, then it feels bad, man. You're still gonna move pretty slow, but it's fun. I mean, we're gonna excuse me, we're gonna be faster than mounts because it's gonna be like 150% more speed. That's crazy. You're gonna be as fast as a flying mount. You're gonna be super fast. It's gonna be awesome. So that's really what I wanted to get at with this video. I feel like that's really interesting. Like just to mention the other what's it called, the other legendaries, they're not even that impressive. And by the way, the set bonus, the PvE set bonus, is absolutely amazing. You must get that. Please get that. It's great. It's gonna be amazing for duels. It's gonna make a world of a difference. And so this ring is gonna be really fun. Now let's go over the other ones. This one is healing from your vampiric embrace is increased by 250%. This is not bad, but it gives us crit and haste, and the offset head that we get is actually really good in stats, so we don't want to lose that. The shoulders are actually really interesting as well. The shoulders say when you enter void form, every 4 seconds remaining of your previous void form, of your lingering insanity, gives you another stack of void form. Now if you go also with Void Lord here, I actually feel like the shoulders might be the best for PvE, like for max DPS, because if you do things properly with this one and with Void Lord, then whenever you hit your not your first void form, but every void form thereafter is gonna be like insane haste for like 8 seconds. It's gonna be crazy. So other than that, we have what? Increase the maximum number of charges of Mind Blast by 2. This is pretty bad, even for PvE. I mean, I don't think this is gonna be very good. Because in PvE, you Mind Blast twice, okay? And then you still have to wait, you know, all the cooldown again. I don't think this actually might be okay if you play with the Forced bonus and for the first 6 seconds you do nothing but spam Void Bolt, and then you can actually do 2 Mind Blasts in a row and then another Void Bolt and stuff like that, but I don't think this is very good. The neck is, after not taking damage this is pretty bad. After not taking damage, you get a shield that absorbs quite a lot of HP. That's pretty good, but it can't proc more than every 30 seconds. And let's be honest, when are you not gonna take damage for 5 seconds? I mean, nobody's gonna sit your fear for 5 seconds in world PvP, because the idea is to fight more people than one, and even then you're gonna have dots and stuff like that. So this one's not very good for that. This one says each time Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch deal damage, your next Void Bolt gains 2% additional damage, stacking up to 100. This is interesting for like to try like a one shot, maybe like a true 200% increased damage Void Bolt. I don't think it's gonna be that impressive. I mean, Void Bolt hits decent, but it's nothing like a Warrior Mortal Strike or anything like that. It's interesting, but it's not gonna be too impressive, I think, unless it gets buffed. Blizzard buff it. Now for the feat, we have your instant cast spells have a chance to trigger Foresight, making your next non-instant cast spell castable while moving. This is actually very interesting, and it might be very good, but it's kind of random, so I don't know. I mean, you just kind of sit there and you spam Shadow Word Pain, and you just pray to get the proc, and then you can finally go into Void Form or something. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be that good because it's so RNG. This one you can control when it activates. And then for the last one, we have your first Mind Seer cast after entering Void Form. Spread Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch to 3 enemies. It's nice to get like a free Vampiric Touch. I like that, but I don't know. I don't think it's worth wasting a legendary slot for that one. And there was one last thing I wanted to show you guys. One last thing, and then I will end this video and you can go ahead and dislike it. I mean, sorry, go ahead and like it. Definitely give it a like, okay? And there is a trinket right here. I think this one. Yep, this one. Now it's kind of bad because it has crit, but it's the only trinket that is not summon a meteor, send an orb of destruction, summon a carrion swarm. This one's a bit more interesting. It says your damaging spellcasts have a chance to grant something, a buff that increases it basically increases haste, not haste, but the spell cast. I'm not sure if it's actual legit haste or just spell cast. It might be something different. By 52% for 10 seconds, and when this ends you get like the reverse, you get 52% slow, kind of. Does that make sense? So you cast things slower, but it's interesting because you can like use the buff part to like Mind Blast and Mind Flay and stuff like that, and then when it's about to expire you hit your Void Form, and then you do like, you know, all of your instant Void Bolts and all of your instants whatever, your Shadow Crash, whatever you do, and you know, and you take no there is no negative from that. That's pretty interesting, I feel like, but the base crit, I don't like that too much. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. It's been what, 15 minutes already. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.